other than building a great team, are there any other advice that you could give to someone who is trying to build a startup?
Yeah, let me have a think. I think, yeah, one of my main things is build your connections very purposefully. So the reason why we were able to get so much done so quickly is because we were able to expand our connections in the agri-tech space quite fast. So it just started from knowing one mentor who was related to someone in my internship back in Malaysia. And then that mentor led us to connecting us with, I guess, one of the leading sort of innovation centers in agri-tech. So just building your connections and having a good network of mentors and advisors to guide you along the many different hurdles that you're going to encounter throughout your whole green tech journey is so important, because when you get to a stage where you've exhausted all of the internal team efforts and you just really don't know what to do next, you can turn to these mentors and advisors, and they'll give you a different perspective that you might not even have thought of initially as a team. And it's also so good at knowing kind of the industry needs and making sure that you're working on the right problem. I think another thing that's really important when you're doing your startup journey is you need to have a problem that you're actually addressing. So for us, actually, it was kind of the other way. That's why it was a little bit difficult in the beginning, because I knew I wanted to build something in the vertical farming space. But after we did that, that's when we started researching what problems there were. So I think, we came about it the other way, but the best way that I now know to go about it is finding that problem and then coming up with the solution. So that's going to really help you with your problem solution fit, going to really help you in get more customers or traction for your prototype or for your company, because it's actually fulfilling a need that customers or the industry really, really wants. So I think those two main things, just building up your network, establishing good connections, but also purposeful connections so you don't get overrun with too many ideas. And second one is actually finding the genuine problem that you're trying to address and then working your way around that and brainstorming all the potential creative solutions that you can come up with.
I agree. And just to stem on your point, it's not only just finding the right problem, it's also thinking about what the actual target audience is.
Yeah.
With our website, like that we're trying to build right now, one of the problems is we didn't really address who our target audience is at the beginning, and like thinking about, will they actually use this product? We just
Mm-hmm.
knew that there was a problem. So then for
Mm.
anyone that's actually trying to do a startup, think about the problem first. Think about who is going to use the service or use the product, and then build from there. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Important.
let's. So you fast forward a little bit. You guys did all the prototyping and everything. Um, you have all these ideas. How do you condense it down into an MVP and then build
Mm-hmm.
out a business model and all the sort?
Yeah. So actually, that's one of our biggest struggles, because I was going to say we had a really good network of mentors, but that also came with so many different perspectives as well and so many different ideas. And because each mentor has slightly different expertise in their own industry, we at one point we were really bombarded with so many different directions that we could have gone into. So we actually used, I don't know if you heard of the Moscow framework or the Double Diamond framework. So I think these frameworks are super helpful. So the Moscow one is about prioritization. So once you have a whole list of ideas, put them through the Moscow framework and look at what you have, what can you do right now, what's a must have, and what can you reserve for later on, and just really structuring your thinking and structuring your approach to simplifying your ideas using these frameworks that are already in place and the systems that are already in place is so important. Employing many of these different frameworks and really having or focused on your big picture goal in mind. So having strategic thinking is so important, because you don't want to do ideas that are not aligned with your goal of your company or the vision that you already decided in the beginning. So you really need to always at certain points step back and just look at, is the thing that I'm working on actually contributing to that mission? If it's not, put it aside and focus on the actual core business strategy. So that's really, really important. So prioritize and focus on the big picture. And then as for building the MVP, I think the pre-accelerator was really helpful at helping us guide us through those different stages because none of us had actually created an MVP or done a startup at all previously. So kind of just learning on the way, or learning as you went along, but going through those specific stages of problem, solution, fit, and then once you find a good problem, going to customers, doing customer discovery, seeing if your target audience actually needs your product and what feedback they have, so you can constantly come back and incorporate their feedback, and then yeah, make edits and improvements and adjustments. And then after that, going on to the sort of building of the prototype with all of these feedback that you have. It's a very iterative process. You're not going to get it right the first try, definitely, but you need to be open to your idea changing. You need to be okay with you know having it go in a slightly different direction than you imagine sometimes, and you can't be having a fixed mindset about it because things are going to change so dramatically. Our product from the beginning was so different to the one at the end. For example, I think we thought of a chandelier in the beginning, a vertical farming chandelier, which was just absurd. But it's good to come up and start with these crazy ideas because you never know what can lead you to. But then just really taking it through all those frameworks, really taking it through the different stages that we learned about in the pre-accelerator, and then finally coming to your final product once you have everything nailed down.
Yeah. And coming
I
to
hope
your
that
final
makes
product, coming to your final product, we pitched at the Royal Institution. And how was that pitching process like? But I mean, one of the reasons that I have you, like, I want to interview you is
sense.
because your pitch, when you first started that with that sentence, I was like, whoa, that really like hooked me in immediately. So like talk us about how that pitching experience was like, but also how do you pitch and why did you start with such a strong statement?
Yeah. Yeah, so my pitching style, I always like to tell a story. That's why. So I've always done that. And I think it's so important to captivate your audience right off the bat. So that's why I took a kind of unconventional approach instead of it being quite a formal, hello, my name is presentation. That's all good in the right contexts. But if you really want to make an impact and have your audience remember you, you need to start off with a strong story. So that's why we wanted to talk about the problem right off the bat. So imagine if your tomatoes were you could just pluck the tomatoes off the vine and eat it like that. So we wanted to address that problem, take consumers through that journey of their tomatoes flying from Spain or wherever, and then coming back to your shelves, and allow them to actually envision what I was envisioning at the very beginning of this whole thing. So kind of just really tuning into their heartstrings almost, and having that more emotional sort of start to the whole presentation. I've always found that that type of storytelling pitching is much more effective and memorable than a more formal kind of pitching, but definitely depends on the context. Um, and then, sorry, what was your other question? Pitching at the Royal
Yeah.
Institution?
Yeah.
Or yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. I mean, the first year I was there just as a board member, and it was so cool to see all the different pitches. But the second year was elevated so much more. The quality of pitches was just incredible. The ideas were just amazing, out of this world, and I think it really helped that we had such a strong sort of network of investors and mentors who were there. They're asking such insightful questions. But yeah, so the question and answering, because of the audience that we had, made that pitching experience at the Royal Institution so much more incredible, because it was really simulating like you were actually in an investor pitch, or you were actually in a finals of an accelerator competition. Um, so yeah, it was a really great environment. I highly encourage any of you listening, if you're in a London or even outside of London. We had some people coming
UK.
in from Paris, from Melbourne, join the climate tech pre-accelerator program at Imperial. You will not regret it.